Disney parks is like, you can't just be like, oh, I did my mom's hair once, I'm pretty good at hair. Like, you really need to know what you're doing. Especially because Disney has such high standards for that. But because there is kind of like a flooded market with cosmetologists, that's the other thing. In order to do that, you have to have a cosmetology license. So you have to go to cosmetology school and learn all this shit and then pay for your license, which is not an insignificant amount of money.
Oh yeah.
And so then you're making $15 an hour to work for Disney Parks doing hair. So her union, because the hair one is the same as the Hollywood Hair Union. It's like 700 or something, whatever. So they were in the middle of doing negotiations, and she was just like fucking on fire to be like, no, you need to pay us at least like $25 an hour or $30 an hour, because people who do like labor in the park get paid like $7 more an hour than she does.
Holy shit.
Something like that. She pulled up statistics. She brought this to like CNN. She was interviewed about it, and she was like, "This is unfair. I had to go through professional licensing. I get that there's a lot of cosmetologists, but I'm fully qualified for this job, and it's not entry level work. I shouldn't be getting paid what people at Wendy's get paid when I have a very specific skill set that not everyone can do." So yeah, Disney exploits the ever-loving shit out of the market conditions because there's just a lot of, especially women, that do hair. Like
and
a lot of,
treat them like shit. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh, there's a lot of cosmetology licenses out there. Okay, well, they're all trying to get their name and put worked at Disney on their resume, so we'll pay them jack shit. I was like totally upset.
Understandable. That'd be fucking infuriating.
Yeah, I met her on a strike line.
Oh wow.
It wasn't for that, but there was a show. Actually, you can find an interview with me um, on Medium. Let me see if I can find the article. Let me get somewhere where fucking skeletons aren't gonna try and eat my face.
Such a place does not exist.
Alright, okay. Medium. Etsy casting. It's me. Okay, Discord. There.
How old is that little kid in the line? What the hell?
Little kid in the line?
Yeah. Standing in front of the guy with the backpack that's right next to you. That looks like a child.
That's a short person.
What?
I think. Oh, someone brought like a 12-year-old.
I was gonna say there's no way that's an adult.
Yeah, there were
That's
a couple
not
people
possible.
there's a couple people that brought their families. Yeah, so I was you want to talk about weird fucking sexist shit. Huh, huh. Casting the Net. That was a series that was going to be put on a new streaming service called Urban Flix. Which I don't want to surprise you too much, is primarily focusing on black stories.
Nah.
So the whole, all of the production people and like execs and stuff were black, and which is like whatever, didn't really matter one way or the other. But there is a culture, understandably, in some minority communities where they feel so marginalized that they bring together their network of people that they know, which is like brother, cousin, whatever, regardless
That's
of their
totally understandable. Yeah.
regardless of their capability or understanding of how to do the job. It's like, oh, my cousin is like here and ready to help.
And
So
and if it weren't for the fact that they'd get screwed over every other way to Sunday, if they didn't do shit like that, yeah, I mean, there's no problem with what they're.
yeah, I don't really have an issue with that. But here's how this started. I got hired to be an electrician. I was out of work. It was during like a pretty slow time, and they were like, "We would really like a female electrician for this show." And the gaffer hired me, who's the department head for electric.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Okay. Uh I know how to be an electrician because I have been trained by the right people to know how to do that. But I'm a grip." So I was like, hey, I can do that. If you can't find a female electrician, I would be really happy for the job. But if there's room on Grip side, I would really appreciate working in my department.
Yeah.
And it would be a little weird to be working on a series that runs for about a month, but not in my
In your own
area.
natural. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be a little weird on the
Natural
resume.
habitat.
So they're like, okay, we'll talk to the DP about it, see what we could do. I was apparently the first person that they hired on
Oh
crew.
shit.
So I'm like, all right, cool. There's plenty of time because this was like a month and a half before shooting was even slated to happen. So, time goes by, and I'm like, hey, so about that grip side position, and they're like, oh yeah, forgot to talk to DP. We'll get right on that, type of a thing. And I show up for the first day of the scout, and I'm almost to the scout. I always show up early. It's like 15 minutes before call time. And they're like, hey, are you coming? And I was like, yes. I'm like, not even supposed to be there yet. What? um, yeah, I am getting off the freeway and I'll see you in 5. What's up? He's like, well, the key grip did a no call, no show. So, like, said she'd be there, didn't call and say, I'm not gonna be there, didn't show up. The best boy grip accepted a job. It was a full-time job. For Mole Richardson, which, like, fucking good for her. That's a great job. Since then, because of the pandemic, that position was eliminated and now she's without a job, by the way.
Mm.
Fucking sad. But anyway, so he goes, so we don't have the key or the best boy grip. And now it's just the DP and the gaffer, and we were really hoping that you would be there too because we need someone to help cover for grip side because we don't have anybody to scout for grip. So what that entails is like, you know, the gaffer. So the DP walks through the room and goes, "This is the look I want. I think this room will work." Right? The gaffer walks in the room and says, okay, to create that look in this room, we're going to need these lights. and we're gonna have these concerns about power in order to make sure those lights can work. And then the grip goes, okay, if we're using those lights in this room, the way we're going to have to mount them, or the way that we're going to have to position camera, will be like this. And then we will require these pieces of equipment to pull that off. So each position, even though like they're sort of buddies, like Grip and Electric are kind of friends, but they're distinctly different jobs. Like someone who knows how to light might not know how to rig, someone who knows about power distribution might not know about load limits. So they're like, we need someone to cover for Grip side, and I was like, well, it just so happens I'm a fucking Grip and I'll be there in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So I show up, and the gaffer and the DP are very concerned about the aesthetic of what's going to happen. So the gaffer decides that instead of focusing on electrical... Oh, and the best boy Electric, who is usually the person, if not the gaffer, to worry about electrical load distribution on a scout, she had already said she couldn't make it, like an excused absence, if you will. So the gaffer was more concerned about the aesthetic and talking to the DP the whole time, and so they were having me cover for Best Boy Electric and Key Grip in terms of those scouting responsibilities, which is really fucking hard because, like, I don't primarily juice. So I'm sitting there going, okay, so however long ago that it was that I was learning my electrical stuff, what do we need here? And then also, since no one was covering Grip, I'm like, all right, to do that, you're going to have to... So I was doing two supervisors' jobs, essentially. And at one point, the DP was like, wow, you're talking about Grip a lot. That's kind of weird. Why don't you check the breakers? And I was like, it's because I'm a Grip, is why.
You're like, well, funny thing about that.
So we get to the end of the day, and the DP comes up to me and goes, hey, so do you know any female key grips that would be qualified and interested in this job? And I gave him this look like,
I'm gonna kill you.
excuse you?
Like,
I said, I'm a Grip. And he goes, you're a Grip. And I was like, yeah. And he goes, really? Because, you know, I kind of got the feeling at the end of the day that you were a little uncomfortable in your job as an Electric. Like maybe you weren't as experienced. And I was like, right, that's because I'm a Grip and I'm trying to do a job that, as I stated in my previous 500 emails, is not my primary job.
yeah.
And he's like, okay. And I said, so, you know, since I've already been on the scout and seen the locations, you wouldn't have to catch someone else up on this position. You could just make me the key Grip.
Yeah.
And I would
Let
already
me do what I actually do.
Yeah, and then I would know what's going on already, and there's no need to spend the extra time going through that. He goes, okay, but, you know, I guess send me your resume, and then, send me contact information for other women that might be interested in the job. And I was like, okay, but the problem with that is there's not a lot of female key grips that are experienced enough to handle this, that I know, that are available. Or they're so high above this level of work, they would be insulted by me suggesting.
Rat's ass that you even suggested it. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like, fucking really? So, he's like, okay, well, yeah, send me this info. So I gave him my resume, which he must have not read at all. Because I've worked on... The joke is, I've fucked up way bigger shows than this.
Yeah.
Like, well, I don't know if you're qualified to be key grip, and it's like a whole bunch of key grip credits for smaller stuff and a whole bunch of grip credits for really big stuff. He's probably never worked on anything that big. So this fucking guy. I talked to this girl who, TLDR, she could have probably done it if I was there to hold her hand.
Let's see. What does your IMDb resume?
Oh yeah, it's not always. You can look me up.
Oh, I know. I already did. I'm looking at it right now.
It's not always current because sometimes you can't put something on till it's aired.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
But yeah, so I called this girl at his request. He was like, "Why don't you interview her and see if she'd be a good fit?" And I was like, "Look, I don't know why."
You worked on Wipeout. That's awesome.
Yeah, actually, I
show's
know the key who's
hilarious.
currently working on Wipeout. I just worked one day on that. It was a green screen day. You know, they have like the guy at the bottom of the screen, doing whatever.
Yeah.
Peanut gallery thing. I shot that back in
That's
like
hilarious.
2012.
I was madly in love with Jill Wagner for many, many years. So she was one of the co-hosts for a while. Yeah.
um, so I interview her for like an hour, and the interview is basically like, look, I don't care whether I key and you best or I best and you key. But I think if we put our heads together and we're cooperative, we'll have the skill set to get this done. And I would prefer to have somebody on the job that is going to work with me. If he's not going to choose me to key, let's, create a learning experience for the two of us and we'll get it done.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll be fine. She was not experienced enough for the job on her own, I'll tell you that right now. But at the rate we were getting paid,
Yeah.
who would take that job? So, I think Angelique would be a good fit. And I talked to her and he goes, "Okay, thanks." And I sent him my resume and I sent him a whole bunch of photos I had taken on the Scout because that was part of my job. I organized the photos in my off time and everything because I was just really trying to put myself forward as key grip on this job. So what they ended up doing was, yes, item level 87, Bo. Thank you. What they ended up doing was he added this guy Kyle Sorvig to my Google Photos album on like Saturday. And I was like, what? And I wasn't supposed to work till like Tuesday. I'm like, okay. Who the fuck is Kyle Sorvig? And why is he looking at my Scout photos?
Who is Kaiser Soze? What?
Yeah. So I show up on Tuesday and it's like, this is how this went. We all go in the room and we're all doing the, okay, everyone, this is everyone. And he goes, okay, Brandy, so, this is Kyle, he's our key grip. This is Stevie, he's our best boy grip. This is, I don't fucking know, Butt Plug, who's our third grip. And, Brandy is our electric. And I was like, what?
You're like, no, bitch.
You literally hired 3 grips who are all men? When you were like, we need a female because the execs have asked for it?
That's hilarious.
So I submitted my resume at the time I was hired for being an electrician because it was made clear to me that in order for this position to be filled, they really wanted to make sure that it was a minority or woman or specifically a woman minority or a woman,
Mm-hmm.
and that they had qualifications, and everyone was getting screened through execs with their resumes. And so I even had an executive producer emailing me before I had my first workday asking me about my experience. So then turns out Stevie is the DP's cousin, and he's actually an assistant camera operator who's pretty green and he's never gripped in his life.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, right. Butt plug, I remember. Okay, so Stevie was the third grip. The key grip was Kyle. The best boy grip was the gaffer's brother. Now, the gaffer's white, so this wasn't the thing I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
But Stevie is the DP's cousin. He's black. And I'm like, what? How did this happen and why? And so I'm getting a little pissed off as they go, what do you guys think? And Stevie is like on Instagram, I don't fucking know. And the best boy grip seems like a decent guy. And the key grip I got nothing against. It's not his fault that he was hired over me, but what the fuck, why was he hired over me? So, and they're asking me to, share my photos and share information about the scout with him to empower him for his job.
Mm.
And I'm just like, what the fuck? So we continue scouting, and some of the things the DP was asking for was inexperienced and dangerous. He goes, we're going to light this room 360 degrees. And I'm like, well, that's kind of not really a thing without a pipe grid. So, don't know how you're going to do that. Because it wasn't on a stage, it was like rando locations. And so, they're like, oh, we'll just put a, light that weighs 40 pounds on a speed rail wall spreader, which supports 25 pounds at most, is the TLDR. And I was like, that's not possible, and you can't do that. And they're looking at me like, who the fuck are you to be saying this stuff? And I was like, person who scouted this the other day, it's horribly dangerous, super know what I'm talking about. So the best boy electric is this girl, Olivia. She's already in Local 728, the electricians union. And she's like kind of fucking over this as they're going around and asking her stuff, and they're like, okay, we're gonna have to sort through the gear. And so they take us to this lot, and it's like just fucking this leathery old guy with the shittiest old gear, and he's like semi-retired and trying to make some money. And like never maintains his gear. It's like in the worst condition. And we're looking at this stuff. So Best Boy Electric's job. Hiring and firing for the entire electric department. Paperwork associated with that, like time cards, start paperwork, HR shit. Deciding on your gear vendor and keeping inventory of gear for the run of the show. And then other, filling in whenever you're short-handed on electric side. If you need anything the electrics are doing, she can pop over and do it. So she finds out that I was hired as an electrician even though I was a grip. And she's like narrows eyes. And I talked to her and I was like, hey, so since you're in charge of hiring and firing, I should be grip side, duh. And she goes over the best boy grip and goes, hey, so Stevie doesn't have experience in either grip or electric, and my electric is a grip. Why don't we swap them? Because I can have him pull cable, and that doesn't require expertise. But in terms of rigging, you need a rigger. And he goes, all right. Turns out Stevie didn't like that.
Oh, God.
Because he saw what we were going through, the things that we were looking at on the truck, and electric things are heavy.
Oh, boo-hoo.
He didn't want to carry that stuff, which would be his main job because he doesn't know electric. So he bitches to the DP, who tells the gaffer to swap me back, which goes over the best boy electric's head and the best boy grip's head. And so he comes to me and he's like, "Hey, so, I hope it's okay, but we're going to swap you and Stevie back." And I was like, "Huh, it's not okay." And he goes, "What do you mean?" And I was like, gestures at everything, repeat story. Many, many, many times we've talked about this, and you've fucked up many times, and this is super easy, and it's horribly insulting. It's not just wrong, it's horribly insulting to me.
Yeah.
Um, as it would be for anyone else, regardless of gender. But why should I have to submit a resume that nobody reads and spend time screening people just for jerk off motion, the PR aspect of it, and then not get hired for the position even though I'm qualified? Well, jackass over here doesn't know how to do anything but look at Instagram. So when Olivia, Best Boy Electric, finds out about this, and she didn't get to choose the gear either. She's like, "What is this shitty broken ass gear? Like, this is not safe. I don't want to use this gear and I refuse." We resigned together.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, "This is horribly insulting, unsafe, and unfair." And she was like, "I don't think," she was more professional in terms of trying to remain neutral. I was like, "These are the reasons why I'm leaving, you motherfuckers," but without saying you motherfuckers. And she was
Yeah.
like, "I don't think this is a good fit." So we both left. I tried to pick up my paycheck same day, and they were like, "Oh, I don't know what happened with paychecks. We'll mail it, blah, 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 blah." So flash forward to later. I'm no longer on that job. She's no longer on that job. I find out that the remaining crew decided to organize. And then they fired everyone for organizing, which is illegal. And then
Wow.
replaced everyone who was hired either with scabs, and then after a while it got so much press they were struggling to find scabs. Then it was all cousins, brothers, sisters, friends, and the entire crew, with the exception of one guy, ended up being black relatives of execs,
Oh, jeez.
which was like a little weird. So I'm on the strike line, which is where I met Rebecca. Because she was real pissed off about the stuff that happened with Disney and hairdressers. And so yeah, they fired everybody. And then the stuff, because nobody knew what they were doing, it was like horribly dangerous. We were watching stuff happening because we could see the set. Like, we're in Agua Dulce, which is basically in the high desert where you get high winds. And we're picketing there, and they have these guys who are essentially production assistants, don't know their ass from a hole in the ground, setting up grip equipment. And a lot of what we do is really dangerous if you don't know your knots or don't know what weight things can bear or how to handle winds. And so they put up a 20 by 20 duvetine T-bone. You take a speed rail length at the top of a stand. First of all, you'd never T-bone a 20 by unless you were on a stage with absolutely no wind. But they T-boned this thing and didn't bag it, and it just fell. And then they just decided, as one of their like anti-union things, as we're picketing, they had a mirror board just used for day exterior lighting. They started flashing the mirror board in our eyes,
Oh, God.
which some people actually ended up having to go to the hospital because of retinal burns. But also, it was in a high desert area with a whole bunch of dry brush.
Really
And
smart.
it was really, I mean, they didn't focus it long enough to start a fire, but they could have very easily. We
Mm-hmm.
called the fire marshal, and he was like, it's fucking, this is a trade dispute. I don't know. Whatever. Don't do that, shrug. So, yeah, there's this huge deal, and we protested, and they finished filming. But all their footage must have been messed up by us, like, being noisy picketers.
Drag your sorry ass down here in Drazalo. Do it, do
I,
it, do it.
I'm in Dressler. What do you
I know.
what?
Drag your ass down here because you have a quest to.
I have a quest.
Yes.
What is it? Am I going to the port? Where are you?
Yes, down by the dock.
Anyway, so IATSE interviewed me for this because I came back and was on the strike line. Like, I didn't have any more dogs left in the fight, but I was like, fuck those guys, those sexist sons of bitches. Like, unsafe, rude, discriminatory, douchey as hell. They started making it about race. They're like, oh, you white people, blah, 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 blah. Well, the vice president of our union's black, and it wasn't about race at all. It was that you motherfuckers are just, like, awful. If I hadn't have been involved in that strike line, I probably wouldn't have got my days. Because the grown-ups at the union saw how involved I was, and that I came back even after I was off the show. And, I started getting calls to do union stuff that was like, oh, so and so put your name in, type of a thing. So it was a massive positive career thing for me in the end. And I have a lost wages claim with the NLRB with that company. And I think I'm probably going to win it because I actually paid for my lawyer for it. And the claim is for like $18,000 in lost wages.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, we'll see. What is
Get
this
this quest
Battle
from
for
Spock.
Darkshore?
Get the Warfront Battle for Darkshore. Just the regular one, not the heroic.
Cue it on this thing. Join battle.
No. Talk to Thok or Throck, whatever the dude is, the orc. Standing right here. No. Come back here. Right to me. Yeah.
Okay.
Talk to this dude.
He doesn't have anything for me.
At all?
No. He doesn't have anything. Warfronts to the front? No. Do you know what it's called?
Alright, well, we'll just do this.
I might have it somewhere already. Yeah. Oh, Darkshore. Trouble in Darkshore. No. That's talk to Admiral Tattersail. Something else.
That's actually the prequel quest to this.
Okay, that's why I can't get it.
Soon you'll want to do that quest. It's a couple of quests in the zone that we're going to, but obviously Darkshore. If you hadn't figured that out.
I had. Is this like a scenario thing? Prepare for battle.
Uh-huh.
I have no idea what's happening, so.
Yep.
Okay.
Just murder stuff and follow the group. So, there's two different ways this thing works. Like right now, we're actually attacking Darkshore. There's also another one that's for Arathi Highlands. And in both places, we are essentially invading these areas with 20 people. And there's a bunch of like high level like rares and bosses around that we can kill that sometimes will drop loot, sometimes will drop mounts.
Are you coming?
Yeah, I'm in there.
I see you back at the ship. I'm already killing things.
Yeah, I'm loading in. Remember, potato computer. Hello. But yeah, so the way this will work is we kill the stuff in around like these little areas, and then we like take over a little town, and then we farm up like wood and like ore and other stuff, and turn it into NPCs, and then they create our shit so that we do more killing and better killing. And killing and stuff.
Hmm. Sorry.
So yeah, you can now continue with your story.
That's basically it. I'm still waiting because thanks to this pandemic and how backed up the labor board is, I had my hearing on June 8th, and I still don't know what the outcome is.
Oh jeez.
They're like, yeah, it usually takes, right now we're backed up, so it might be like a month to 6 weeks or something. But then the pandemic happened, and I'm sure that these government butt plugs are just sitting at home. I don't understand what could take 4 months to decide whether or not I won or lost my case.
Yeah.
Like, after the day we all gave testimony, I don't really understand what else they're asking for or gonna do. But it turns out that the guy who was the CEO of Urban Flix was wrapped up in a Medicare fraud scandal. Like, the
Nice.
money to fund this shit was from he had set up call centers in the Philippines for medical equipment, like assistance devices for elderly and wrist braces
Wow.
and shit that were
That is
unsolicited, and he would
sketchy as fuck.
essentially like trick the elderly into signing up for this stuff that they didn't need, and then Medicare would pay for it.
That's
So,
crazy.
yeah, I found this article about it, which we brought up in the hearing. It's like, look, I was asked by the DP to interview this other girl for the job off the clock. So I expect to be paid for that time. I was basically looking, I don't really care that much, honestly, but I was looking to find another way to screw this fucking production company more than anything. Like, if it was for a friend or a reputable production company that was gonna treat people well, I'd be like, sure, I worked a few hours off the clock for you. Whatever. It's not okay, but it's probably fine. But I wouldn't go trying to take him to the labor board for late payment because it's like your full rate times every day past after 30 days, up to a total of I think 45 days. So you take my full rate times 45 days that they owe, and then waiting time penalties. That's how it gets up to like the thousands of dollars.
Oh yeah.
Because it was only like $350 a day they were paying me, and it was flat. Like work an 18-hour day, 350 bucks. Work
Oof.
4-hour day, 350
Yuck.
bucks. So yeah, it's crazy. And there's two more guys that Key Grip, Kyle Sorvig was in on the suit with me as well, and then another guy who gripped that they hired later. That I just if they hadn't just hired everybody's cousin from the get-go without screening their experience,
Yeah, then it wouldn't have been a problem.
I wouldn't have been as mad, you know? I probably would have left the production because it was being unsafe and poorly run, but I wouldn't be like, fuck you in particular. Because they really went out of their way to be like, yeah, we're trying to empower women and minorities. We're a black owned business, you know? The execs are really serious about this.
So yeah, you want to come over and get the quest. Dark
I see here.
Ranger Valora. And then each one of these little like buildings, you turn in the resources to build them up. Then you can actually hire like bodyguards, plague throwers, and other shit to like send out.
Okay. How long does this go on for?
All told, these things usually 10, 15 minutes.
Hmm.
And you're guaranteed a piece of loot at the end. They're actually quite fun. Like, at least I have a blast doing them.
Yeah, they're alright.
I'm sure you can handle things in here. I'll be outside settling things down.
attempt to find me, but I don't know, he's dead.
I see you. I was pretty close, actually.
Oh, come over here and see. Did you pick up the axe in the quest up there?
I took that base, but I didn't go through.
Yeah, if you pick up the axe at the back where the first like little town was that we took, you can actually go and chop down trees and
Okay.
actually go back over to where the Zeppelin thing is. Give you flight whistle for the thing.
Lion's attack wave by this base.
Hold on tight. Crazy nibblers, give them a whooping. Doggone critters don't know when to give up, do they? We're almost to the fresco. Keep it up back there. Ha ha! What a rush! I like you. You keep things interesting. Snow Lily, we're back from the quarry. Got a special delivery just for you, my sweetie.
Honey Bear! I mean, it is about time. Don't you snow lily me. We were worried sick about you. And the delivery is not for me, Hal. The Honorable Lawwalker has been waiting. Oh.
Sorry to keep you waiting, Sugarfoot. I know how you worry. Truth is, this stranger here saved my old hide. Go figure.
Come speak with me. What is your hurry?